On the podcast, you had mentioned something, or maybe I heard this somewhere else, about an incident that happened when you were 7 years old. Do you consider yourself a victim of anti-Semitism? And can you talk to that story?
I don't want to consider myself a victim. Have I ever gone through anti-Semitism? Plenty. But I don't look at it as I'm a victim. I would look at it as this taught me a lesson to empower me. So to go backwards before that 7-year-old experience, I was born in France. I moved to Israel when I was 3, then to Miami when I was 5. And being here in Miami, I'm sure you know that no one really identifies as American. You're Argentinian, Venezuelan, Colombian, Haitian, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Cuban.
Or New Yorker, but
Right.
no one identifies as coming
Exactly.
from Miami.
No one sees themselves as really American. And when I grew up, I was always labeled the French kid because that's where I was born.
In Miami.
In Miami. But both my parents were first generation born in France. It's not really our homeland. That's not really
Right,
our
exactly.
country. All of my grandparents were born in different countries. And so when I go to France to visit my family, I was considered the American cousin. And so it's like, hold up, like here I'm French, here I'm American, here I'm that. So apparently who I am depends on who's asking me the question or where the question is being asked. And from there, I wanted to find my own answer. And I had this experience as a 7-year-old. We went to London with my mom, my younger brother. We got onto the red tour bus that does a tour London, and my mom was wearing a shirt in Hebrew. And as we got onto the bus driver, who ends up being a neo-Nazi, sees my mom's shirt and says, "Excuse me, is that written in Jewish?" And she's like, "No, it's written in Hebrew, but it's the language of the Jewish people." It's like, "Oh, so you guys are Jews?" And she's like, "Yeah, what's the problem?" She's like, "Get off the bus." And mom was like, "I don't know who you think you are, and we're not getting off this bus." And he got up, grabbed my mom, and threw her off. And that moment really changed my life. It made me realize that it didn't matter where I was born, grew up, lived in, traveled to, resided in, what passport I have, where my parents or grandparents were born. I was a Jew, which made me realize that being a Jew is not this like secondary religious belief. It's the core identity of who I am. It's my ancestors, it's my descendants. And the second thing it did for me is it made me promise that the next time I would deal with any form of darkness in this world, any form of injustice, especially against the Jewish people, that I'd have to be prepared. And that's what would eventually activate me to becoming an activist.
So this guy was, this bus driver was more than just, he was like a teacher.
Is an ignition.
He taught you your purpose.
Gewoon.
He fired up a Jew. If only he's listening.
You have to have a very macro view to be able to understand that, but I would agree.
Right. It's like the guy who sexually abused me as a kid. Like, he fired me up like a mofo. I don't think it was his intention, and in his case, he was a kid. But in yours, the guy had a specific intent, probably to put Jew down and Jews down. And in other cases, it might have worked. But in your case, was there a period, because I do talk a lot about healing and trauma and those kind of topics on this, was there a period of time where this incident was more difficult for you, where it brought up fears, or where you were afraid to walk outside? Was there?
No, I wouldn't say in the moment I didn't have fear. In the moment, I just didn't have the ability to do something. I didn't know what to do. Of course, as a 7-year-old, I wouldn't mind going and, physically confronting the guy, but I'm smart enough to understand that wouldn't work. It wouldn't do anything to fix the problem. So in my mind, I had to go get help. Eventually, the police came, the guy got arrested. But I promised myself I'd never want to be in a situation again where I don't know what to do. I want to be mentally prepared.
That was the immediate aftermath?
Aftermath. I will never not be prepared. I will never not know how to answer, deal with the situation.
So did you start working
mentally, physically? I started martial arts, did Krav Maga, and then did the army in Israel. I wanted to prepare myself emotionally, physically, mentally, intellectually, even ideologically, understanding why these things were happening in the first place. Why does this person even have a problem with me? And how can I do something in order to make sure not to be in that situation again? And then it evolved to realizing that this wasn't only me that's the target, it's any Jew. And then realizing that most Jews are not prepared to deal with such a situation.
Happened?
In London.
In London. Interesting, because I spent time in Manchester, England, and I experienced so much anti-Semitism in England. I don't know what it is. But there was one incident that really changed me, where I was probably about 18 or 19. And at the time, I was working out plenty. I wasn't afraid of a fight, necessarily. And it was actually 2-on-3. We were 3, and it was 2 guys who jumped out. 2 guys and 1 girl, but the girl only spoke. And we were walking home from a wedding, a few friends, and a car pulls up, and the girl says, "Good evening, Jewish bastards." And 2 guys jump out, and one of them punched my friend right in the face. And we fought them off, and they ended up running away. But what changed me about that incident was seeing the hate that they had for me. I'd grown up in Brooklyn, and it wasn't uncommon to get taunts or comments or things like that. That was, maybe even someone throw something at you. But to see someone who never met me, who hated me, or it's hard to punch someone in the face. It's not an easy thing to do. and to be able to just punch my friend in the face because the only thing they knew about him was that he was Jewish, that changed me. I wondered a lot about anti-Semitism after that, but go back to...
Yeah, I mean, I saw it the same way. I realized, okay, this person that just kicked me and my mom off doesn't know who we are. He doesn't know what we stand for. He doesn't even know if we keep kosher, if we do Shabbat, if we believe in God. All he knows is that we're Jewish. And that's when I realized that he doesn't hate us for who we actually are. Because if he knew who we are, he would actually like us, because my family is a great family, right? He knows us by what someone told him Jews are, and clearly this guy has a lot of pain in him, that the way to externalize that pain is by pinning it on a group of people that he was told is the cause of that pain. And that's what got me to ideologically understand where this is even coming from and how to position ourselves in order to overcome it.